Hey everybody, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Ryan Lathan. If you've never met me before, I'm the manager of marketing and communications at Fort Worth Opera here in Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome to Social Media for Opera Singers.
Yeah.
Our first seminar during a fabulous international soprano, Jennifer Rowley's Summer Virtual Artist Residency. Yeehaw!
Yeah.
We're super thrilled to have very special guest this evening, the brilliant Jenna Wolf. Woo, Jenna.
Yes.
PR and design company Lenny's studio and classical music streaming service IDAGIO. Jenna, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us this evening, and we look forward to hearing some of your pearls of wisdom.
Yes.
So, without further ado, I will just hand it all over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ryan. Jenna, thank you so much for being here with us. Welcome, everyone. Jenna is a dear friend of mine and also a part of my PR management team from Lenny's studio. I call Jenna my idea machine because she always has the best idea. So welcome, Jenna. Thank you for joining us tonight. Are you in New York? Oh, we got to unmute Jenna. Unmute Jenna. All right, there we go.
I'm muted. I'm back. I got muted. I got shut down before we even got going.
No.
The party hasn't even started yet. Yes, I'm home in New York. I live in Riverdale in the Bronx.
Nice.
As you can probably tell from my accent, I did not grow up in New York. I'm from North Dakota originally, from Bismarck.
Amazing.
And I've lived in New York now full-time since 2014.
Fabulous. And Jenna, before you started with PR, you did a lot of social and connections and fundraising and things like that for Minnesota Opera. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have sort of an unconventional career path, which I think a lot of people in more administrative roles do. My degrees are in music performance on the horn. I'm a horn player, a lapsed horn player, violist, pianist, all of that.
Yes.
And I love playing, but when I was in graduate school at University of Minnesota, actually I had some life changes happen. My dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He passed away while I was in school. It sort of changes your view on the world. And while that had all been happening, I happened to go to Minnesota Opera on some student discount tickets. I had even played in pits for small opera companies before and done that, but I hadn't seen something at that level. And I thought, this is here, this is fabulous. I saw Pearl Fishers, I saw, and I thought, I have to work for this place. So I got an internship there, and then I worked in development for several years. And then eventually I went on the road as an external relations consultant and sort of changed my life situation and moved to New York when I had met my now husband. And in the meantime, he connected me to this woman named Kate Pizzaroni, who founded Lenny's Studio, the company I still work for today. And I just started working at Lenny's Studio, doing some sort of limited things, writing news items for websites. That was all new to me. You know, I came from the development world, but I was lucky to have some overlap with my friends in marketing and communications. We had a really close relationship. So I was able to bring some of that to my work at Lenny's. And eventually we added press services and more on the digital marketing side. So I started working on that. And I've been there since 2014. And then I'm also a consultant for an organization called Opera for Peace, a great international nonprofit. And then at Lenny's Studio, we've now just started in the past couple of months collaborating with IDAGIO, which Ryan mentioned, a really wonderful classical streaming platform. You could stream classical music on there, but we've also got a concert hall, a global concert hall that's putting performances online and making sure artists and venues get paid, which is...
We love that. Yes, girl.
Yeah, so that's me.
Great background. And we talked to Scott Gusliak a little bit last weekend, actually, about how to get into that sort of side of the business where you're not, you know, not necessarily wanting to be a singer, but maybe you just want to be involved at the opera. Maybe you want to be an artist liaison. Maybe you want to be a director. We talked to him about that kind of thing, and he told us the same story, that he started as an intern and sort of worked his way up to where he is now at Academy of Vocal Arts. So it's really great to hear you sort of solidify that for us also. that it's a great way into the theater, going through as an intern and sort of working your way up and finding your way in a business where you really fit into, you know, the place where your talents are used in the best way. And I have to say, at Lenny Studio, your talents are used in the absolute best way. Jenna and Kate are an amazing team. And Kate designed my website. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it is absolutely stunning. Most of the posts that you see on Instagram, Jenna has had a hand in. Kate does the graphics. Leah Johns is there. Max Potter is there. So it's a team of real boss ladies. They all work amazing together. And really, I mean, I really couldn't ask for a better team. So thank you, Jenna, so much for being here with us tonight.
I'm happy to be. And, you know, we really love supporting young artists at any stage in their career. And I think anytime that those of us in the business who are fortunate to be employed, especially right now, and to give back, to give forward, to connect with people, it's vitally important. And, you know, Jen, you and I go back even a ways before we started working together.
My
husband was subletting a room from Jen when I first met Jen in New York. And then I later went to a dress rehearsal of Cyrano that she was in at the Met, and we just stayed in touch. And you never know sort of how things are going to play out. But we're very lucky to.
I loved you immediately. I knew you were a smart cookie from the morning I met you. So I think just the world of you. So Jenna and I have put together sort of a collaborative PowerPoint presentation for all of you this evening about social media as an opera singer, how to make it work for you. And I feel like we could just dive right in. What do you think, Jenna?
Go for it.
All right, let's do it. So technologically, everybody, please, let's cross our fingers. I'm going to screen share. Here we go, sharing mode. Let's hope for no reverberation. Everything working good. Crossing fingers, crossing fingers. Screen sharing. How are we doing?
It's happening.
It's happening. Is everyone seeing the PowerPoint? Jenna, can you hear me?
Yep.
Wonderful. So here we are, social media for opera singers, a guide to establishing an online presence and maintaining it, maintaining being the everyday maintenance of that social media. So the importance of establishing an online presence. You want to establish your presence both on the internet and on social media. You want to make sure you have a professionally made and always kept up-to-date website. You want to make sure that you have an up-to-date YouTube channel, consistently updated. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it's every piano coaching you've ever done in your life, but, you know, keeping people up to date on what you're doing. If you have a couple of minutes from a rehearsal here, if you have, you know, in pandemic times, if you switched over to making cooking videos like I did, something for your followers to have, to look at, that's visceral, that's there for them consistently. And then your social media channels, keeping your Facebook, your Instagram, and your Twitter updated. Jenna, do you feel like there's anything else you would like to add to sort of the establishment of an online presence and really putting yourself out there for the world and the business to sort of know you're there?
Yes, I think there are a few great basics to cover in each of these areas. You know, with the website, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but you know, there are a lot of great free and very low cost options, especially if you're an artist at really that young and emerging phase in your career, or that initial phase in your career, or if you're somebody who got into this later in life and you don't necessarily have the funds to go build some big custom design website. That's okay. You don't need to start with that. The key is really having the site, as Jen says here, professionally made, or at least looking professionally made, including some nice portrait photos of yourself, and up to date. You need to have your latest biography. You need to have your upcoming engagements on there. I see all the time sites from, you know, emerging artists that are 2 years out of date, that haven't been updated for years. And this is such a wasted opportunity, because you never know who might be searching for you or looking for content from you. So the up-to-date part is really important. And also to make sure you reserve your domain online. And if it's not, you can always have your first name, last name in FOC, or first, middle, and last, or something like that. But if you can get the .com, you know, that's even better. If not, there are still some other options. On the YouTube channel, as Jen said, it's not about having every single video you've ever done under the sun on your channel. Really curate it. Say, what is the best video content that I have to offer? And I would say it's better for an emerging artist to have 5 really great clips of arias and songs or performances than to have, you know, 25 clips where only 2 of them are fairly well made or fairly well executed, and the others are maybe blurry or poor sound quality. So if you can ensure quality always on your video content, especially as now we're seeing a lot of you are needing to provide videos for auditions. And this is such a huge shift in the industry, and I have very mixed feelings about this. But in order to, you know, put your best self out there, if you can have quality, quality is always better. And if you don't love a video, if it's 2 years old and you think you're in a different place vocally, take it off your platform. You don't need to have it there anymore. Have the things that you feel most confident in and excited about.
And things
and
that look
go ahead.
Wonderful. I think that's a big thing too. I mean, it's definitely hard to get a good video sound quality, but especially with people looking at things on YouTube for casting and auditions being done via YouTube links, you do want the sound quality to be really good. Like, I can deal with a blurry video if the sound is really good. So I just want to add that in with the YouTube stuff, and just, you know, think about that sound quality when you're
sound is paramount. And you know, Jen, you and I talk about this a lot, both for you vocally and even in my household and friends, other clients and elsewhere, but voices of size in particular. You know, if you're a spinto voice, if you're a dramatic voice, and let's say you only have an iPhone to record with, but you have a decent sized space, a church or something, but you only have a phone or you can't afford to get some kind of audio setup, make sure you have distance, please, everyone. On these videos that you make sure that recording device is not 2 feet in front of you, because you're not trained to see 2 feet in front of you. And this is also a larger issue in our business in general, where we are recording voices, I think, very inappropriately in the production capacity. You know, we're miking artists at the front of the stage or only body mics and not out in the house. So if you can try and replicate an audience experience as close as possible with your audio in your videos. And going back to Jen's point, look, a blurry video is a blurry video, but if the sound is also poor, forget it. If the sound is good, people will be more interested in you and more likely to say, you know, not a great looking video, but I hear something.
Absolutely.
And so that YouTube channel, you never know who's going to be looking at this stuff. So it should be the best quality possible. Same with your site. I know we've got some questions about social media channels, so we can go to that next.
We're going to get there. Everybody can really save. I can't see the chat right now because of the screen share, but let's save our questions.
There's a ton. And that's great. So just please, you know, put all questions in.
Yeah, this presentation is gonna cover so much. You don't need to ask about it now. Let's wait and see if we cover it. And then at the end, we are going to do a very lovely Q&A for all of you. So let's save some of those questions, write them down as you go. And we're gonna see what we can cover first, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So let's move on here. Follower count on your social media presence. The follower count is actually quite important in casting. I know that that's not a fun thing to hear, but it's a true thing. Regional houses, so for example, if you're singing at Nashville Opera or New Orleans Opera or Fort Worth Opera for that matter, regional houses want to see 2,000 plus followers for the leading roles. A houses, like the Metropolitan Opera, like Houston Grand, like Chicago, they want to see 5,000 plus followers for the leading roles. And of course, the big stars are at 10,000 and above. So follower count, I know you don't want to hear it, but it actually is quite important. And it becomes really important, especially when houses are asking for Instagram takeovers and things like that, because they're wanting to pull your followers onto their page and gain them more followers as well. So I'm talking here about Instagram count followers. I don't know, Jenna, and maybe you can answer this better. I don't know how many houses are really focusing on the Facebook page, but I know that the majority of houses that I've worked at, especially in the United States, focus a lot on that Instagram page. Jenna, do you want to add anything about this?
Yeah, the focus has really gone to Instagram. I would say out of sort of those three anchor channels, of which are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and again, we can get to some of the other ones later, but with houses, you know, first and foremost, and I always believe this, and I know a lot of my casting colleagues believe this, and even when, you know, I'm working with colleagues on selecting artists for Opera for Peace events, for example, first and foremost, your voice is the most important thing. And you as a complete artist, that's the most important thing. If you are a complete artist, or as complete as you can be at that point, you know, you have the vocal technique, you are prepared, you're a good colleague, you're interesting on stage. If you have all of that already, and you have an established social media following, then the thinking that may go through for a house is, oh, it'll be maybe easier to market this show because this artist will promote it and share it. And we're also seeing, y'all would be surprised at the level of intendants and casting directors in this business that look at Instagram stories on a daily basis.
Oh, on a daily.
And they're you know, and it's not necessarily that they're watching saying, I'm going to cast based on this. It's not about that. It helps them get a bigger picture idea of who you are, especially in these moments when there aren't going to be in-person auditions and we're sort of forced to put everything online. So think about those facets of your personality that might be fun or different or interesting and set you apart. And you know, just as much as followers, I mean, somebody could have 50,000 followers, but you know, 48,000 of those could be paid and never interact.
Well,
and
there's
maybe
also that. There's also that. We don't.
Yeah, and
a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think you can do stuff like that, but to me, it's more worth it to have the quality, kind of even going back to the idea of sound in your videos. If you have quality, you know, in your interactions, if you have true fans who are liking, who are writing you questions, who are commenting on things, who buy tickets to your events, that's worth its weight in gold, because those are people that will support you and share your content throughout your career. And to me, that's vitally important than, you know, purchasing a bunch of likes or something like that, because those bots at the end of the day come and go, but the fans hopefully stay with you for life.
Absolutely. And my last thing on this page here is just that YouTube presence. And we already talked a little bit about this. Houses are definitely casting from YouTube videos. And I know this for a fact at Michigan Opera Theater, at San Francisco Opera Theater. Their budget is not enough to travel to hear singers. So they are looking for really great singers on YouTube, and they're inviting people either to house auditions or into full contracts from just YouTube videos. So that those YouTube videos that we talked about the sound being good, etc., that stuff is really important. We also know that and this more information comes with this every day, but we know that the 2020 audition season is going to have to be held virtually. The Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions announced this week that the first round of those auditions will be done via 2 YouTube links. So you'll have 2 links that you can share to submit your first round of audition. And then the next 2 rounds will be held virtually on Zoom, where the panel will be on Zoom and you will be singing with a track or a live pianist or whatever. But your 2 YouTube links are going to be what gets you in the door for that virtual round. So take the time to make really good YouTube videos for things like that. And Jenna can go into this a little bit more, but these videos don't need to remain listed on your YouTube page. You know, you can make them specifically for any audition and say, you know, hi, this is audition for blah, blah, blah. And you can leave them marked as unlisted. And as long as the person who has the link can get to the video, they can watch the video from there. And this isn't something that needs to be public out on the internet for everyone to see. This can this can really be a private thing for you. But they're using the links because it's very, very easy to just click a link and open up a bunch of YouTube pages. It's much more difficult to deal with Google Docs and iCloud link and all of those things to send actual video. So those YouTube links and YouTube videos are going to be very important going into this fall. Jenna, anything else you want to add about that before we move on from here?
This is major, and I'm glad you brought up MONC, you know, at the Met National Council auditions, also competitions. So it's not like other competitions internationally. So this is not just in the US, even in Europe, where they are actively performing in many theaters right now. There are going to be a lot of US singers who normally would have been heard in person for various rounds for competitions and auditions, even for fest contracts and things like that. And video is your only option. And again, it's not always about spending a ton of money and getting the highest quality possible video and this and that. Be creative. You know, if you stand at your local church, and if they would allow you to record your video in the sanctuary, and if they happen to have a video camera there that you could use, and if you could buy an inexpensive, you know, external mic, I mean, you can do a lot with a little, but you have to think outside the box. And it can't just be about, you know, an iPhone sitting on the stand, because you're not going to get the best quality recording there. But it's also not that you have to go and spend $4,000.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Not necessary. Like, don't spend your money on that. Spend it on lessons and coachings, please. Yes. That's the most. And health insurance if you're in the States. If you're elsewhere and have it, bless you. But, you know, for these videos, Jen is spot on with this, because this is, I hope, not the permanent future for us, but it's definitely going to keep creeping in more and more, especially as those travel budgets are slashed. And I have been in a room before with a casting colleague who we heard about a singer from someone, and I watched, there were two steps. The first thing my colleague did was to Google this person and look at their website. And then the second step was clicking on a YouTube video on that person's website. And that was going to determine, just in that conversation, that interaction, if that artist was even going to be considered for the job.
Yep.
It's wild.
Happens all the time. Okay, let's move on to maintaining that online presence. Maintaining the presence becomes super important, and we need to be careful as professionals how much personal information you want to share about your lives versus what you want to keep private for yourself. So, in my humble opinion, 2 pages on Facebook is absolutely necessary. 1 page on Facebook for your family and your immediate friends, your colleagues, whatever. The second page on Facebook to be the liked page by fans who come to an opera house, who see you, who want to follow along with your career. In my opinion, they're separate. You can share things between the pages, but I don't always share pictures of my like vacation here or there on my professional page where I would share it on my personal page. Instagram, you can also have 2 profiles. I prefer on Instagram, because it's such an immersive platform, I prefer to have just 1, because I like on Instagram to share some of my personal life and some of my professional life, but mostly my Instagram profile is pretty professional. We all know who my husband is and what he looks like, so that's like, you know, as personal as I get on Instagram. But I really save the personal, you know, the vacation here or the family photos, things like that, for my personal Facebook page. And I think it's really important to have those 2 pages. You also want to think about what demographic you're trying to hit with each of these platforms. Instagram, for me, is my favorite and my main platform, because the people following me on Instagram are younger. They're you guys. They're everybody that's on this meeting right now. They're 16 to 40. Sometimes we go up to 50, but The demographic is pretty youthful. It's the next generation. It's our next generation of audience. It's our next generation of opera singers. It's the people we want to bring into the theater now, you know. Facebook tends to have a demographic that's a bit older. I mean, think about it. Your mom's on Facebook. So think about that demographic. It's easier to use Facebook for them than it is Instagram. Twitter pretty much runs the mill, but it seems lately that because Twitter is so political, that more often than not, the opera world things that are being shared on Twitter tend to be coming internationally. So I'm seeing, you know, most of the posts from, for example, Royal Opera House in London, they go on Twitter. They don't do a ton on the other profiles. They do a lot on Twitter. In Spain, when I was at the Liceo in Barcelona, they did a lot on Twitter. They also did Instagram too, but it seemed to be more primarily based for international houses on Twitter. So think about that when you're planning which profile you want to share, what you want to share on. That becomes important. Facebook and Instagram ads and sponsored posts are a really great way to get your information sort of out there. If you're wanting to build your followers on Instagram or Facebook, if you're wanting to just get more attention to it, you can sponsor these posts, you can boost these posts, and they'll reach more people. In those boosts and in those sponsored ads, you can choose your demographic. So when you go into Facebook and you want to boost a post in Facebook, it's better to move that demographic a little bit higher, because there's an older generation that's on Facebook that's really active, while a younger generation is really active on Instagram. I also want to add how many posts per day per week, and I'm gonna have Jenna sort of get in on this and everything else that's on this page here, but it's a really important thing to think about when you have the multiple profiles, which you all are going to have. How many posts per day per week on all of those profiles? That's tough. It's hard to maintain that. And looking demographically, what kinds of things do we want on Facebook versus what kinds of things do we want on Instagram? It's very different. So you really have to find a balance of your stories, your feed posts, your IGTV, your live feeds, all of those things for your channel. And I would love to have Jenna kind of chime in here and talk about, you know, the difference between the professional and the personal profile, and sort of how many posts are enough. Because sometimes we see people posting 3 and 4 times a day, and those posts are not getting to everyone. It may be better to do one really quality post a day and have it get to more people. So Jenna, if you could talk to us about that, that would be super helpful.
Sure, I'll kind of go back through and add some extra detail, but that was great, Jen. With the professional versus personal profiles, you know, a big part of this is privacy and safety. And I will say, you know, in this business, you as an artist, you do have this public facing front. You may have a website, you may be out on stage performing, you may be a known personality, but sometimes there is a danger to these things, and you can get people that start to cross lines, that start contacting you and connecting with you in an inappropriate way, in an unwanted way. We've even seen situations go as far as stalking, true stalking in this business and with artists. And I first and foremost am always about protecting artists. I mean, it's part of my job as a publicist. It's also part of my role at Opera for Peace, especially for young artists. And at IDAGIO, same thing. It's sort of all levels of artists, thinking about everybody. We want you to be protected. And by isolating sort of these two different channels, especially on Facebook, if you want to have a personal page and then you want to have a professional page, it keeps things set, and then you can really decide who you friend, who you allow into that sphere. You know, with Insta, I do know some artists that have completely private secondary Insta profiles that they only post travel photos and all of that, and they only allow their best friends to see it, and that's cool too. Please remember that if you friend people you don't know or don't know really well, even if they're somebody you met once and they seem really nice and lovely, they could screenshot personal information from you. They could come and find you if you're on a trip somewhere or you're traveling. So just be conscious of that and protect yourselves, because at this point, no one else is going to be able to protect you in that way. So you need to think about yourself.
Absolutely. And Jenna, I just want to add something here. Something just popped into my mind. I know a lot of people have their Instagram profile as private. And I want to say to you that actually that's not a great thing in the professional world. So if you're a young artist and your Instagram profile is private, and I'm watching a performance of you, I'm going to go to your Instagram account at the intermission and be like, who is this person? If I can't actually get into that Instagram account without you okaying it, that becomes a wall for your audience. So if you're trying to keep your Instagram account private because you want to put personal things on it, maybe that's a situation where you need to have two Instagram profiles. One where we can see that young artist work that you're doing, what companies you're working for, what's happening in your performances. And then the other one you can keep private and off the map for people that are your, closest friends and colleagues and family and things like that. I've definitely had some occasions in the last several weeks with these Fort Worth masterclasses where I've wanted to go and see some other things that, the singer is doing, or I want to get to know them a little bit better before I have them on one of the masterclasses. And if I can't get into your Instagram profile, it's kind of hard for me to get to know who you are. And to be perfectly honest, I don't have tons of time to go and start searching for you on Google. It's really easy for me to look for you on Instagram because I'm on it all the time.
And it goes to the point as well that if you're going to have separate profiles, think very closely about what you're using for display names or handles.
Absolutely.
Public channel on Insta, if it's your name, that's the thing that people are going to be looking for. If you have a handle that's unrelated, that's like the name of your favorite movie or favorite city or a catchphrase or something like that, it's going to be more difficult for people to even find that. And then if it's private, they're not going to see it. So think outside the box. A lot of artists in the business use their first name and then middle name or maiden name or something like that along the way, and
right.
On the personal Facebook page. And so be creative on that. But every channel, and this gets sort of into the next section, every channel functions a bit differently. I think we're all feeling at this point that Facebook is sort of the professional channel where it's really gig announcements. If you signed with a new manager, like that's a place you put it, all these kind of things. Instagram is definitely, you have more flexibility there for some more lifestyle content, especially in stories. That's a really fun place to sort of explore fun things, and they can disappear after the 24 hours, or you can keep them up in the highlights if it's something you really liked, or you can highlight it later down the road. So that's great. Twitter is really still the easiest to re-share. Like retweeting is such an easy thing for people to do, and that's why Royal, I think, to your point, Jen, with some European companies, especially Royal being one, they know it's easy for people to like and retweet their aria clips post of different artists. And so, and on the flip side, then I think individually, that's a place where we're seeing a lot of political activity, and because again, it's easy to like and retweet and to be active on that channel. So you can think through the channels and think, who am I speaking to on this? Again, these are the three anchor channels. We'll talk about some of the additional ones later, but these are really the main ones where you should have a presence, but your presence can be tailored to suit each sort of target audience. I think with ads and sponsored posts, Jen and I have talked about this a lot. Facebook has been really bizarre lately because a lot of the algorithms, especially around everything going on politically in this country, and this has happened sort of in waves with Facebook over time, they restrict certain ads from being promoted. Sometimes it's about the text and the post copy. Sometimes it's about the graphic that you're using because it has too much text or not any text. Sometimes it's the video. It's very difficult to predict because sometimes the feedback you'll get from the Facebook team is not specific enough for you to know, well, how could I have done this better? So I would say really, if you're going to sponsor something, make sure it's something you feel is really worthwhile. And I would recommend testing something ahead of time, maybe a couple weeks ahead of time, do a small boost to a geo-targeted group of people, a specific age group, a specific demographic, if that's who you want to speak to. See how that plays out, and that if it goes well for you, increase your budget and promote the big thing you're going to do. If not, try something different. And I think on the frequency angle, you don't want to oversaturate people's feeds. And sometimes it can be really easy to do that. If it's a day where you have a major event, you got asked to jump in last minute for a gig, and it's a role debut for you or something really important, and you want to post some things throughout the day, go right ahead. I would still say, stories on Insta or on Facebook as well, that's kind of a good place for the real-time things. But the minute you get past a couple of posts in a day on a feed, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, all of a sudden it feels a little bit spammy. It feels like we're being attacked with content, even if it's fabulous content. See if you can pepper it around various channels in various places, and it'll serve you better over time. And also test that, your fans may behave very differently than Jennifer Rowley's fans, or maybe differently than Luca Pizzaroni's fans, or everybody's audiences are different. So try some things, and this is a great time to try. And if you feel like, oh my God, I'm not working right now, what the hell am I supposed to post about? If you are fortunate enough to be able to have in-person lessons right now, and if your teacher has a studio that acoustically works pretty well, post a 1-minute clip of an aria that you're working on if you feel and your teacher feels that it's at that quality level. I mean, I've been very lucky to sit in many of Jen's lessons in the corner with a little phone, and she has this voice that works in a big opera house, but it also happens to work somehow like magic on a phone in a smaller room. But we know, then she and I talk, and she's like, I think this section of this aria might be kind of fun to share because I know I'm singing that role in 2 months. So think outside the box. If you're working on something non-opera, please share it with us. We all have a lot of opera every day. If you believe in something, if you're passionate about something, tell the world about it. It helps us get to know you again as a person better, which to me is just as, if not more interesting than who you are as an artist.
Absolutely. And I'm going to use that to segue into our next slide here, which is content and sharing. Content is super important. Instagram takeovers are a big thing. I just participated in an Instagram takeover festival for opera arias, which was really fun. They had
opera arias. They're a great channel.
They're a great channel. The last one was Alanya and Alexandra Burzak just hanging out in their house doing like yard work and gardening, and it was fabulous. So these Instagram takeovers, the day in the life of an opera singer, they're really fun. And when you get asked, to do those kinds of things, take that opportunity, because that means that the house really wants to introduce you to their audience. And that's really a big thing for the house to sort of say, hey, we want our audience to get to know you, because we really feel that you have a future here at our house. The importance of your video versus photos. We've already talked about the video quality. Video content is also really important. Like Jenna said, if you don't know what to share right now, and you're working on something, get your accompanist app out, and you feel it's in really good shape, get your accompanist app, put that on your iPad, and take a video of a 1-minute video of something that you're working on. Put that up in your feed. People love to see that. They really do. We need music right now. So if there's something you feel like, I've been working on this for like a month, I feel really good, let's put it out in front of people. Pick a minute and put it out. If you feel like the whole thing is worth sharing, that's when we bring IGTV into the fold. Thankfully, Facebook, you can put, the different lengths of videos, it doesn't matter. But on Instagram, we need to do the short videos at 1 minute, IGTV at 10 minutes. And that kind of a thing. I mean, people love them. They watch them. It's great, fantastic content. Unfortunately, on Instagram, and since we're talking about boosting and things like that, we can only boost those photos and the 1-minute videos. We can't boost those long videos. So think about that. Yeah, not yet, but think about that when you're putting something out. If you're like, you know what, I'm working on, you know, Sinichiamo no Mimi. I'm going to sing Mimi in the fall. I want to put this out as a preview to invite people to come to, you know, such and such opera house in the fall. Think about that if you're going to make that boost. Then you don't want to share the entirety of Sinichiamo no Mimi. You only want to share the 1 minute of happiness at Ma Quando Vien lo Gelo, right? So think about that when you're planning what to boost and what not to boost. And now Instagram Live is working very differently, which is wonderful, where you can do an Instagram Live and save it directly to IGTV, and it goes into your feed and stays there for as long as you want it to be there. You know, previously we had the Instagram Live, which got deleted after 24 hours, but now you can leave that in your feed forever and ever, amen, which I think is fabulous. And these videos that come from the live feed, they have the 1 hour time limit on them. So let's say you do a house concert, you put it on Instagram Live, you can save that live video to your feed in IGTV, and people who come past it can watch the entire concert right there in your feed.
Yeah, sure. And I want to mention something with this, Jen, because
yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Flexible and experimental when it comes to the timing on these things and how you capture them. First of all, and Jen and I have learned this, and many people have, that sometimes when you do an Insta Live and you go to save to IGTV, every once in a while, like Instagram will be down or something won't work.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to lose this whole amazing chat I just had with this great colleague. That's okay. You can play the video back and do a screen recording on your phone, on your device. Yeah. Last ditch effort. I recommend when you do that, turn off, you know, like do a do not disturb on your notifications or whatever, so you don't get things flashing across, and screen record it. And then on the timing thing, that's also a chance where you can be creative. I was very lucky to run all the random devices for the Werther broadcast that Joyce DiDonato and Piotr Wachow, Howard Watkins, and Emmanuel that they did from Joyce's apartment. And this was decided, I mean, Joyce knew she wanted to do this. This was a quick turnaround. Things had to happen before people left town. And they wanted to do all of the music possible from Werther that those two could do together, you know, with these fabulous collaborators. And we knew it was going to be too much, right? So we knew we were going to have to take a break at some point. That's okay too. Tell people, tell them from the beginning, we're going to perform, you know, until X time, and then we're going to stop and take a break, and then we're going to resume. And then you can absolutely, you know, save those things to IGTV. You can save the videos themselves and put them up on YouTube. If there are separate clips, just string them together and put them up right on YouTube, which is what Joyce has for that Werther concert. And again, it's a time where people have to just try different things and see what works. But you know, don't panic if you can't save that video. There are other ways to do that.
There's other ways. Let's also talk about the etiquette that goes along with these videos. You know, in talking about what Joyce and Piotr and Howard and you guys all did at the beginning of this whole pandemic in March, they all knew that that was going on. They all knew that that was going to be live. They all knew, you know the circumstance when you go in. However, if something would have gone wrong, I really do feel like one must be very honest with their colleagues about not wanting certain things to be posted after the fact. So any video that goes on YouTube or in Instagram or Facebook, any video where someone else is present that isn't you, you need to get approval from that colleague before you post it. So let's just say something went horribly wrong and, you know, let's say Howard lost his place at the piano, or, you know, Joyce tripped over her carpet, or Piotr forgot a word or something like that. Maybe those are points in the video where Piotr would say, you know, I think we should edit out these 3 minutes, and then you can put it into iMovie and, you know, just make a cut and a fade in, a fade out, and no one will know any different. But, you know, allowing colleagues approval for those things before you post it, it really is so respectful, and it just makes everyone feel so much better. what you can and can't do in rehearsal. And this is a big one. You know, you and your colleagues, everybody's working. Everyone is wanting to put the best product out that they possibly can. And if you are standing at the front of the room, walking around, recording rehearsal on your phone, you are going to be a distraction to the director, the conductor, your colleague, everyone. So it's really important that you think about your etiquette and maybe make those videos during the break. You know, get your selfies during the break. Get your selfies, you know, out in the hallway, or you know, when you have 5 minutes left in your break, you can back, things like that. Same thing with backstage. You know, your colleagues, everybody's working. Everybody has their own process. Everybody has their own focus and the way that they like to prepare themselves. Some people don't want to talk before a performance. Some people like to get in the zone and stay in the zone, and they don't want to have a selfie before the performance. So think about that. You may feel perfectly comfortable, but maybe your colleague isn't. So if there are signs on the door, do not disturb, please pay attention to those signs, you know, or wait until after the performance is over to get your selfies in costume and, you know, things like that. And you're also talking about union regulations. So you don't want to take your phone on stage. That is really, that's a bad thing right now in all houses. Don't do it. There's regulations out about it. There's regulations when putting video of the orchestra that you're singing with. You know, there is a rule about, you know, being able to share a clip of video. I believe it's under 59 seconds you can share without needing the orchestra's permission. But once you go over that 59 seconds, you like, if you get in trouble, you have to pay that orchestra. And believe me, you don't want to pay that orchestra. It's expensive. So just
slap on the wrist when that happens. You're lucky if you're just told to take it down at worst. And, you know, you will hear from the AFM, and you don't want to get into that situation. And it's also that mutual respect, getting back to what you said, Jen, respecting the rules, respecting the contracts that are in place between all unions.
Yes, and I can tell you, it really sucks when you see yourself rehearsing up on Facebook or up on Instagram after you've had a really hard day with the conductor. Let me tell you, it really sucks. We had an incident in one production that I was doing where one of the singers' husbands took video of the entire rehearsal and put it on Instagram Live. They just live streamed the whole music rehearsal. And we were working and we were making mistakes and people were cracking and, you know, people were messing up words and other people were yelling at each other. And, you know, it's not always a pretty sight at all of these rehearsals. So, you know, and to see it then up on Instagram Live after that was over was really hurtful. So,
and I think, Jen, you tapped into something interesting. It's not only your responsibility as an artist, but it's your responsibility for anyone you bring into the rehearsal room or the theater as your guest. And, you know, frequently I'm so lucky to be a guest all the time of great artists and clients like Jen and, you know, with my household and this whole, but man, there are rules to follow. And if you're not sure what the rules are, ask your contact in artistic, and they will always.
They will, and you know, someone is always there to help you. And at all the houses now, you know, they have a social media liaison. They have a marketing director. You can talk to that person and say, hey, what's acceptable? Is it okay if I take a picture of my costume before opening night and put it on Instagram? Some houses have you know, rules about that. They don't want those pictures out, and you need to be respectful of not only the house but the person who made the costume for you. It's really, you know, the etiquette backstage and in rehearsal. It's really so important. So make sure that you're paying attention to that while posting. If you guys want to look at some really great Instagram profiles, even Facebook pages too. Both Anna Netrebko and Piotr Bekchala have wonderful day in the life Instagram profiles. We all love Anna Netrebko's profile. I love seeing her wonderful outfits and, the museum she's going to and her performances. And I love being able to follow her like that. It's fabulous. I have to imagine that takes a lot of effort and energy, but good on her. I really love it. A branded look without PR management, that means a really consistent look where you can follow the feed super easily and clearly. The Met Opera Supers have a great page. Fantastic. 360 of Opera has also a fantastic page. Eugenia she really runs that page super well. And Lucas Meacham always, he has great content. And what I love about him is that he and his wife collaborate so much on the social posts. So while he's not with a PR manager, his wife is helping him with all of his social content. So it really does have a branded and consistent look to it without, being with a PR firm. So I applaud them for what they do.
Actually, I think Lucas has a publicist, but I don't think they manage his digital content.
Mm-hmm. That's what
Yeah, and I know Lucas and Karina do a ton together, and she's a brilliant musician and amazing lady, and so they found a way, and I know you just chatted with them too, they found to sort of bring that together in their household, which I think is a beautiful thing.
They did. And then you guys can also look at what a branded social media page looks like with PR management. Eileen Perez is beautiful. Nadine's is beautiful. Larry Brownlee's is beautiful. The main thing that you're looking for is, the pictures, they're really professional. I would say 90% of the time. We're talking about beautiful handmade graphics by a graphic designer. We're talking about posts that are put together in such a way that, the content is there. All of the links are updated. Everything is just kept really consistent and beautiful. So you guys can just have a look at some of these and you can see the difference in what the look of these three different types of pages. And while Anna does of course have PR management, I know she runs her own Instagram and I know she takes her own selfies and her videos and everything. And so, it's a really different kind of account to look at as opposed to, like Larry Brownlee's, which is really kept in like pristine form with, a certain look to everything. So I think this is a really great way to sort of look at what you like and how you sort of want to brand your own page. Jenna, you want to add anything before I move on to growing the accounts?
Just on the etiquette side, again, it's always better to err on the side of caution and ask and double check. Hey, could I grab this photo? Would you be okay if I posted it?
Yes, definitely.
Oh my gosh, this one's so great in rehearsal today. Do you mind if we run it at the break and post a little video? And again, ask the staff, ask the people who welcome you into the house. They're your best resources. And I know you'll arrive and you get these welcome packets and all these kind of things, but sometimes that info is buried or difficult to discern what is okay, what is not okay. But don't break the rules. Those rules exist for a reason because they're contractually binding. That's mutually respected between all unions and all artists, to be frank. So treat every relationship in a way that you would want to be treated. If everybody has off days and tough days and days when they're sick or drop a line or trip over something or drop something, in a rehearsal or, have maybe a tense moment trying to figure something out with a colleague, it's not your job to capture and put that out to the world, a moment that might embarrass a colleague or make their lives difficult. Your role as a good colleague is to be respectful, to always ask. Consent is key with many things in life.
Consent is key. Yes, Jenna, absolutely. And I, honestly, I'm 100% happy to say yes. If someone comes up to me and says, hey, Jen, my husband took this picture of us on stage today during rehearsal. Would you mind if I put this up on Instagram? More often than not, I'm going to be, yeah, totally, no problem. Thanks so much for asking me. But if somebody does it without asking me, I have a very negative response to that. Not just, oh, I don't look good, but I have a negative response because I wasn't asked. And it's my likeness, that's being put up on the internet. And so I do feel like, more often than not, like I said, I'm going to say, yes, of course I want you to share. Of course, if we did something cool and you want to take a selfie with me or whatever, absolutely I want you to share. but I want to be checked with first, you know, and I think that's
there
just
to be a videographer, or are you there to be the artist that you've hired to be like, what's your main job? And if your main job is that you've been hired to sing a role in a production, focus on that first and doing that well. And then if there are ways, like you said, Jen, on breaks in the hall, something to capture moments of that are fun to share.
Absolutely.
Don't lose your focus.
100%. All right, let's talk about growing these accounts, because that often can be very difficult. We talked just a touch about buying followers. I'm going to urge you to not do that. And I'm going to give you a couple of other ways in which to grow your account without purchasing followers. And the reason I say that is when you have purchased followers, the followers don't interact. And so maybe you've got 300,000 Instagram followers, but if only 200 people are liking a post, that isn't a very good percentage. And it says to people like me who know about buying followers that you bought followers. And I feel like that's not the way to go. It also will affect your algorithm on both Facebook and Instagram. Instagram now tends to punish people who have purchased followers, and lower number percentages of your followers will actually see the post, which sucks, but it is what it is. So I would like to recommend a couple of other ways for you to grow your accounts without purchasing the followers. The number one thing is to be smart with your hashtagging. And I'm going to let Jenna talk about this because she and the ladies at Lenny Studio really do an incredible job of this. But I urge you to find some hashtags that not only work for you and describe what is in your post, but that you also follow, you know, because you can follow a hashtag as well as an account and see a lot of different posts in said feed of that hashtag. And people go through those feeds and they will, you know, if you follow, let's say you follow opera, just hashtag opera, you can scroll through and find tons of people that you don't follow. And believe me, people will find you that way. Jenna, can you talk to us a little bit about the hashtag, how it works, and how to use it to really make yourself noticed and your post noticed?
Sure. I think with hashtags, again, this is a good opportunity to test some things and see what works, whether you like to include, and I think we're really speaking specifically to Insta. Some people do search hashtags on Twitter. It's very rare that people search by hashtags or attempt to on Facebook, but Insta is really the place that lives. So, you know, do you want to include multiple hashtags at the very bottom of your post? Would you rather include those hashtags as a comment on the post so people don't immediately see your hashtags that you're using? Those are things you can try, see what you like visually, see what people might be interacting with and experiencing better. It's good to have a mix of some specific hashtags that maybe are branded or specific to you, whether it's your name, whether it's a company that you founded, whether it's a special project that you and your colleagues are doing, and then including things like opera, classical music, the city and country you're in, using hashtags in different languages. You know, you can try a lot of things and do that in stories too. You know, in stories you can do hidden tags where you can have the text copy be the same color as the background and it basically disappears. But if people are searching, they may come across your story if you're using that general tag. So
I learned something new. That's fun.
You know, again, there are these little ways you can think outside the box and try things. And, you know, with the hashtags, it is a moment to get creative and you can come up with some funny catchphrases. And look, it may not be, you may not see people searching by that particular hashtag or that phrase that you're using a bunch of times as much as like hashtag classical music. But honestly, if it makes you laugh and if it makes other people laugh, or if they think it's fun, or if it's thinking outside of the box, include it. You know, you have a limited number of hashtags you can include anyway. One little trick of the trade or tip I'll recommend too, put them into notes or something first and make sure to have the list of them, because sometimes you might realize, oh, I went to post you know, all these hashtags as a comment under my post and it was too many and it stops you and you've lost all your tags. But if you have a list of them, you can easily edit and re-add.
Absolutely. Fabulous advice. So you can use those hashtags, you know, to gain traffic on your post. And by gaining traffic, those people who didn't follow you before can click and follow. We also talked about the boosting already, and boosting also, I find that with every boost, I get at least 5 to 10 new followers, because, you know, those boosts are going out to people who like the same thing as what the post is primarily about. It's going out to followers of people who follow me, friends of people who follow me. And so it's really hitting, you know, a really specific demographic. So, you know, the boosting, even if it's just a couple bucks, you know, on a good video or something like that, those boosts are getting me a couple of follows every single time I do it. So that's really a good way. There are 2 other methods that I'd like to recommend to you for gaining followers rather than buying. Sometimes Instagram doesn't like these methods, so you have to be careful how much you use them or they'll throw you in Instagram jail.
Judiciously, especially this first one you're going to talk about.
Yeah, the follow unfollow method. This one is, I mean, it's really easy. You go to someone's account that is like yours. You follow a couple of their followers. That follower follows you back. Then you go back in and you unfollow. It's very easy to do. However, if you do it too many times in one day, Instagram notices it and they put you in 24-hour jail. If you do it more, if you get put in jail, I think it's 3 times in a row, then they'll block you for a whole week. So you have to be careful with the follow unfollow method, but it does work. And, you know, sometimes in following people, you find people that you actually really want to know about and have, you know, like interests and things like that. My preferred method for gaining followers is the likes method. And you do have to be careful with this one as well, because on Instagram, you are only allowed 700 likes per day. So there are companies out there who will do this for you. But I mean, I find it very interesting just to do it myself. I find a post from a colleague that has like followers like mine. And I go to the people who have liked that particular post, and then I visit their Instagram profile and I like some of their pictures and some of their videos, or I comment on a picture or a video. Then that person sees my 3 or 4 likes in their notifications, and they come and they visit my profile, and maybe they like 3 or 4 of my videos and leave, or maybe they then follow me in return. I like this method better. It allows me to actually see what other people are doing and posting. I get great ideas this way. I get to know audiences this way. And I also feel like, you know, if I like someone's video and it makes them feel good that I liked it, then that also makes me happy. So I prefer this method. However, you do have to watch how many you're liking in one day. So if you go in to, like, let's say you look up 100 people and you like 4 posts of each of those 100 people, you're already at 400 likes. If you then go and like some stuff in your feed and for the rest of the day, and you reach the 700 likes, you will get a Facebook 24 or a Instagram 24-hour block. So again, if you get multiple Instagram 24-hour blocks, they put you in Instagram jail and they accuse you of being a bot, which has happened to me. All right. So don't do it too much, but it is a really good way to build your followers and get active followers, people who are actually liking other people's posts, people who are liking posts like your posts. You know, be very specific on whose posts you follow, someone who's like you, someone who's at the same level as you, someone maybe who's singing at the same school as you or the same opera house as you, where you can really kind of cross, you know, some of the same types of audiences that would also like and want to follow an account like yours. Jenna, do you want to add anything else here about gaining followers and likes?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Okay, fabulous. So maintaining your presence through post combination. This is very important on Instagram specifically and Facebook, because Facebook's algorithm is being a real jerk lately. And so is Instagram's. You have to make sure that you are cross promoting and cross posting. So you can't just do a feed post a day on Instagram and think that a good majority of your followers are going to see that feed. In the feed, only about 10% of your followers are going to see any given post. So if 10% of your if let's say you have 10,000 followers, only 1,000 people are gonna see that feed post because of the Instagram algorithm. If you are an official account with the blue check, your percentage is higher. So maybe 50% are gonna see those posts. But for normal accounts like ours, only about 10% of the people that follow you are going to see that post. When you boost a post, that percentage goes up. So that boost actually gets more of your own followers to see your post, which should be seen anyways, but it's not always. So you have to make sure that you are combining feed, stories, live, IGTV, especially on Instagram. On Facebook, you have to make sure that you are combining the types of posts that you are posting. So if you are, for example, let's say you're only posting about performances, at a certain point, the percentage of followers that see that post is going to go down until you post something new. So for example, right now on Instagram, the algorithm is set so that we see a lot of stuff about COVID-19, and we see a lot of stuff about the racial injustice that's happening in our country. Great. I want to read those articles anyway, but those are the articles that are at the top of our feed. So then what happens is, because the algorithm is set to that, the post about your online concert goes down in the importance factor in the algorithm. So only, maybe 10% of your Facebook followers are gonna see the post about your performance, because it's not about one of the things that's at the top priority list for the algorithm at that time. Instagram is sort of the same. However, in Instagram, if you're combining your posts in feed, stories, lives, IGTVs, more people and different people are seeing those posts, because 10% of the people are seeing your feed post. Another 10 to 20% of people are seeing your stories. And if you're keeping your stories maintained, every couple of hours, you're refreshing yourself to the front of the stories list. So when someone goes in to watch stories, if you're the first one there, they're going to open your story. So you have to watch and really kind of cross-pollinate what you're doing and really think about it. Today we're doing an IGTV, tomorrow we're doing a photo post, the next day we're doing a video post, and you really have to make sure that you're varying it so that the Instagram algorithm doesn't push what you're putting out basically to the bottom of the priority list. Jenna, do you want to add anything about this and the algorithms and sort of maintaining the presence?
Yeah, I think, as Jen said, variety is key, and testing things. If you're finding that something's not working well on a particular platform, try a different model, try a different media. If your photos really aren't getting a lot of response, try videos. If your videos aren't getting response, try doing a live chat. Again, this is a great time when things are a little bit quieter for people in general, that you can just do some things that are maybe not what you typically would do. And one thing I'd say as well with trying this and trying to gain more of a presence and more likes and followers, schedule your time to do that. Don't, if you can avoid it, don't spend every waking minute. And I know this is challenging, and it's a challenge for me because of my work and life, but if you can, don't spend every waking minute on your phone. Please get outside, book, study your scores, you know, talk to a friend, because it can be a black hole as well, the more time you spend on this. So structure and schedule, and Jenna's really great at this, how she does this. It's how she approaches her role study, it's how she approaches everything, but she really structures and schedules her time. So do that. Say, okay, I know I'm only going to spend 30 minutes a day actively trying to gain new followers on social, or I'm only going to spend 30 minutes 3 days a week creating posts for social. Put some limits on it, because that's going to protect you. It's going to protect your sanity, and also keep you from having sort of FOMO over other people's lives, and all these things sometimes might be really artificial and dangerous for your emotional and mental.
Totally right, Jenna. I literally plan out every day. I have 30 minutes of liking that I do every day, where I spend 30 minutes and I put it into my calendar. This is the 30 minutes that I'm going to spend trying to engage my followers and trying to gain more followers to my account. And when that 30 minutes is over, I put the phone away. It's over. There's nothing more I can do today. It's really important that you do that.
It's so healthy. I mean, I barely post on social media because, first of all, I'm a great consumer of other people's media, but also I work for other artists, for people in media. I really rarely post. If I post, it means it's very important to me, either a major social issue, something going on with a friend, a business or friend's business I like to support, somebody's got something going on, or pet photos. You know, other than that, like I don't do a whole lot, because I have to consume so much, and I think it's healthy. Find that balance, and as Jen said, you know, maybe structure it into your day to the point that you really schedule each day, and that might help you in general as you're preparing things in your life. So keep that in mind.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Jenna's actual role as a part of PR management and what PR management actually does. What is PR management? And I'm going to sort of let Jenna take this question, because obviously she has more of the backstage, behind the scenes knowledge than I do. But for me, and at a certain level in your career, PR management actually becomes really important and worth the cost. The cost of PR management can run you up to $3,000 a month, sometimes a little bit more. But it does, there are so many things that they do. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jenna to tell us exactly what PR management is, and then we will get into sort of what they oversee and when you're ready for that.
Sure. So as I mentioned at the beginning of our talk, I sort of stumbled into working in publicity. My job experience was in various areas in the business, with, you know, developments of fundraising, external relations, and then a little bit of collaboration with some colleagues in communications and marketing. And it seemed like a natural fit, because publicity is relationships. Development, like raising money, is all about relationships. And with houses, you know, with opera publicists, and publicity front face, it's interviews, media appearances, being guested on, you know, live chats and other things. It's really where you can let some more focused aspects of your personality and your career shine, and not necessarily that you have to tell the story. Like, you're telling your story always on your social media channels. In this way, somebody else has an outlet where you can share your story. And that's the great thing about PR. It can range anywhere, typically, as Jen said here, from 500 to 3,000 plus a month. I know there are some firms that I think are well upward of that, actually. I tell this to young artists all the time, and when I've done other chats, and I want this to be very clear for all of you. Please, when you initially start making money, if you have a career going, an active career, and you're working and making money, make sure that you can pay your rent, your health insurance if you need to pay for that, for your food, for your travel costs, for your lessons and coachings, for therapy appointments, for a gym membership if you have that, for all of those things consistently for a good amount of time before you ever consider having PR, or before you ever, that you have to always preserve your PR management. You'll know, okay, I want to raise my profile a bit. I want to be perceived, as a certain way to other people in the business. And then you can set goals with your publicist or with anybody else. You can set goals and say, I would love to be featured in this magazine, or I'd love to do this. I mean, there was a cool magazine that Jen knew of in Florida that's kind of a lifestyle magazine, and we said, we've got to get her in this magazine. So we did that, and it was no sweat. I think I'm freezing for people.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah, it must be internet going out, hopefully just once. But you can have specific goals if you want some of those interviews or media appearances, and that will really help, again, raise your profile. And so really, publicity, again, it's very different than something like social media and digital marketing. That's you telling your story through your channels. Publicity is your story being told through other channels, through media outlets, newspapers, magazines, all of that. And then a publicist like me, I arrange those interviews, we get them scheduled. I'm on site for photo shoots, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the goal then, is elevating that profile, especially an international profile, as Jen started to get some more of these high profile engagements overseas. Who can we connect with over there? How do things look? How can we liaise with the opera house? And they want Jen to do a takeover or something else. Well, we need to make that happen. So yeah. Publicists can be like a really great colleague, really great friend, really great person who's totally dialed into you. Do not spend the money on people like me until you're ready. And I will say that as long as I live.
I think that's so important. It may seem so wonderful and so tempting to be like, oh yes, I want to have PR. I want to be in opera news. I want to be in opera magazine. That's all well and good. But you have to pay your rent first. You have to pay your rent and your car and your health insurance.
And your lessons.
Yes, and your lessons and your coachings and your travel and all of that stuff.
Yes.
Examples of PR companies: Lenny Studio, obviously, 21C Media, Unison Media, Verismo Communications. You guys can look these up and you'll see a lot of very familiar faces on the rosters of these media companies. And like Jenna said, what does a PR firm do for you? They manage your social content and your branding. They manage your website. They keep it updated. They write all of the news articles and news items for that website. They help you to build relationships within the opera houses, with the marketing team, with the PR team, with the social media team. They schedule interviews and features for you. And really, there's a ton of support and career guidance that goes along with Jenna's job. And so, Jenna, she's such a smart cookie, and she really has her finger on the pulse of this industry. And so, working with her, has given a lot of the things I know and I'm able to tell you in this presentation, I learned from Jenna. So,
and it's, Jenna and I have a lot of deep conversations actually sometimes about things in the future or choices she's going to make for specific reasons. And in addition to the relationships I have with journalists or with opera houses, also with managers. I interact a lot with managers, and sometimes we need to all remind each other that we need to be on the same page, and that page is to support said artist, and what can we all do to support that artist better. So that's, in a nutshell, the support and guidance is something that we don't really talk about sort of in a public way a lot, but it's something I value actually almost more than any other part of the job is that
Absolutely. Really. I do too. I value that hugely. So before we get into some Q&A, guys, I'm going to let Jenna sort of go through her idea for the big picture of your social media accounts. And all of these things, Jenna is so kindly sharing with all of us, and there's such great ideas. So Jenna, I'm going to just turn it over to you, and when you want a new topic, you just let me know and I'll flip it, okay?
Sure. We don't have to spend too much time on this because I know we want to get to, I know a lot of you have a ton of great questions waiting, and I think that's always the most important part of any of these kind of discussions. But how you present yourself on social media and also the content that you share, this does require active thought and consideration and respect of the time that we're living in, respect of your friends and family members and colleagues, but really respect of yourself. So when you're going to post on social, if it's something that's not necessarily just a photo from rehearsal or something else, you know, it doesn't always have to be opera. It doesn't always have to be work on your professional channels. Be socially conscious. What's important to you in your community, in your country, in your state, in your county? Do you have connections to organizations that you support, that you want to make sure you share their mission and get other people to support them as well? This is vital. And, you know, I've gotten a lot of questions from young artists about, well, is it okay to be political? Is it okay to be this on my channels? Yes. I mean, there are artists at the top level who are doing this on their channels. Absolutely. Do you want to have a bunch of expletives in a post that's public on your professional channel? That's maybe something different to evaluate. But if you have something that's really important to you and you are socially conscious and aware of injustices happening in the world and you want to right some wrongs, it's okay to tell people about that, and not everyone will love you for it, and that's okay. This isn't about everyone loving you. You don't get into this, you know.
Amazing. Yeah.
Don't get into this business so everyone will love you. This is not the business for that. I can't even think of what one would be. I mean, not even everybody loves Julia Roberts, and she's fabulous, but and Oprah, not everybody loves Oprah. Oprah's fabulous too, but not everyone in the world loves her. So, you know, be conscious, and if you are passionate about other things outside of opera, invite us to that table. Let's see what you're interested in and what matters to you. And that kind of goes right into the authenticity. You know, it should reflect your priorities, who you are as a person, what your values are. I hope that your values are on what more of us in the industry would consider to be the right side of history. And I think a lot of this is being revealed right now. I have to say, for the most part, I think it's been very positive and collaborative. And I hope we'll continue to have those discussions. And you may interact with people who don't agree with you or who you don't agree with. But if you're being you and true to yourself and respectful, again, that's the best you can do in those situations. Be collaborative. If you're singing somewhere, if you're in a young artist program, if you're guesting somewhere, if you've got a role at a company you're really excited about, and you don't have a publicist or you don't have a digital marketing team, write that company in advance. Say, is there anything I can do to be more helpful to promote this production? Or, you know, get involved with your education department, or I see you guys do school visits. I would love to do one of those between rehearsals. Like, if you're open to that, the venues and organizations will love it. Sometimes they, you know, there's a lot going on at opera companies or with orchestras where staff are really swamped and maybe they can't always make things happen, but they appreciate the interest. And then they may have opportunities for you, and all of that's shareable on your social channels and is a good and healthy way to spend your time outside of the rehearsal room.
Awesome.
All right.
I'm going to flip to the next page. Choom, choom, choom.
Yes.
Okay.
Be inclusive, friends. And I think I've been thinking about this so much lately. With everything going on in the world, and that's been going on in the world for a really long time. It's not like a lot of this is new. It's just more out in the open because we have these mobile phones and we have video and we know more what's going on. We are all more aware now than we've ever been. And the need to be inclusive is more vital than ever. And by being inclusive, I mean, you know who your friends and close colleagues are that you can count on and who inspire you. Share their work. I hope it's a diversely representative group of people. If it's not, I hope you encounter more people in this career and are able to show and share things that they're up to. For those of us like myself who are very lucky to provide opportunities to artists in various capacities. I mean, I'm fortunate to put artists on concerts sometimes and for Opera for Peace. I also sometimes meet with casting colleagues and recommend singers. This is on my mind. Do I have opportunities that I can offer to people in a more inclusive way? I need to be very conscious of that because I am privileged as hell. I'm like the second rung down on that privilege ladder. You know, I'm a white cisgender, you know, heterosexual woman. I grew up very comfortably. I have multiple degrees. Like, I am so privileged. So that privilege can't just sit there and exist. I need to use that and actually act on it, and not just share these interesting articles and video interviews I'm seeing with great friends and colleagues right now. I need to act on that, fill out petitions, you know, go to a rally, which was awesome. And then take those opportunities and really think about how best to serve that. And what's amazing is it's not about, when I remove that sort of blanketing and think really clearly, all of these artists that I'm thinking about for these opportunities, many of them happen to be, you know, Black, Indigenous, people of color, but they're actually the people I just thought of anyway, because they're sensational. And so I think we have this dichotomy in our industry where we haven't reconciled this yet, and it's coming, it's happening. And so ask yourself, in my public facing channels, in my career, how can I be more inclusive? How can I be more active? How can I be more engaged? And it's not that everybody has to go marching down the street in a protest. For some people, that's, you know, with COVID going on, they have health reasons that they can't be out there doing that, or they're not mobile or something like that. That's okay. Not everybody has to do that, but find something that speaks to you. If there's a political issue or a way you can support other human beings who have not had the same privileges or benefits as you, find a way to do that. And then if you're somebody who has been marginalized or has difficulties, people like myself and Jen and Ryan at Fort Worth, and there are a lot of us in the industry who want to help, and we like to be creative, and we like to hear how we can do better. So
absolutely, 100%. Absolutely.
Yes. Use this stuff for good, y'all. Use your channels, use your public, you know, use your lovely faces, your lovely voices, your anything you have that people can interact with. Use it for good, not evil, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Be hopeful. Ooh, this is tough right now. I know for a lot of you, I've had my tough days too. I mean, we've had to completely sort of rethink our business at Lenny's studio and start other work, consulting and doing different things and pivot. We had to pivot because wonderful artists like Jen, all of them are at varying spots in their career. And we know of some artists who have lost work for 8 months, 9 months, beyond. How do you pay a publicist when you can't even keep your lights on? Okay. So, you know, but in the midst of that, the more that we've stayed connected to people, the more that we've stayed connected to our clients, or, you know, temporarily lapsed clients or colleagues at various, you know, ends of the industry, the more connected we've stayed, the more hopeful we've gotten. And so I think the minute you shut down and shut off and shut up is dangerous. And if you're not able to take care of yourself, you know, if you're not taking care of your mental health and emotional health, this is a dangerous time, because then where do you find the hope? Where do you find the light? I think hope is actually there to be found in relationships right now. So you can have those positive interactions with people. Focus on, it's okay to also have happy things happen right now. If you get good news,
we want to know. I want to know.
Yeah. Don't feel bad about sharing that good news, please. We want to see that. Some of us, you know, it's one moment in our day that we see somebody had a good phone call, or just signed with management finally, or got an offer they've been waiting on forever. Look, it's not that you want to be braggadocious 15 posts a day about all these amazing things happening to you, but if you have something good happen, share it with the world. And also, if you have some thoughts about what the future should look like in this industry, share that with the world too. Have those conversations with your colleagues. Do some live chats. Post things that are important to you and your thoughts. Share them with administrators who you know if you have some ideas. It's a great way to stay connected and remain hopeful.
Absolutely.
So with that, Jen and I have shared a lot of information with you and a lot of thoughts, but in closing on sort of that formal side of this, keep it simple. Rome wasn't built in a day, friends. Yeah. So think of what you can do to start. Think of what's realistic. If you say, okay, oh my God, I don't have a website set up. I don't even have decent photographs. Make a list of everything, and then plan it out, when you're going to do it, when you're going to accomplish that. So that way you won't get overwhelmed. We're all overwhelmed enough right now with everything going on. You don't need to add more stress to your plate than you may already be having. So really just think about, what do I need? What do I want? And then what are the steps that it's going to take to achieve that? And then plot them out on a realistic timetable and prioritize what's most important. If you don't have a website, that's like number one, yes, importance, but even actually before a website, if you don't have great usable portrait photographs, find a way to do that. A lot of photographers doing socially distanced photography right now, rates are lower than usual because people need work. Talk to a local photography school and see if there's somebody that would do stuff, for you that is at a reasonable price. I mean, someday everybody wants to be at the level in their career where they can afford, a top portrait photographer and a top web designer and all of this, but be realistic right now and just be like, what can I do in this moment? What can I plan for? And how can I use this time to set me up better for the future? And that will help.
So awesome, because you're so right. Right now, it is the time to do this. You have time to sit at your kitchen table and use some website software and build your own website and make it look good. You have the time to do that right now. I mean, what else are we doing, right? So it's totally realistic to make that list now and get some of that stuff set up so that when it is time in the fall for us to be doing our audition submissions, you've already done this work through July and August. And then in September, you can just start filling out those YAP applications, sending those video links, and you're set up and you're ready to go. I think that's a great idea. And Jenna said earlier in our chat, and actually Scott said this on our class last weekend as well, the opera houses have to be creative right now. So therefore, you also have to be creative right now. And Jenna's right. If you can't afford a top website designer, I bet there's a graphic designer at a college near you that would love to have a couple of $100 to build you a nice, simple website. I bet that there is a photographer out there who has also lost all of their work that would love to go outside to a park to take an hour's worth of photos for you for a couple of $100. Be creative and talk to these people. There's people in every state, every country, talented people who, like us, are out of work because our business is just on pause right now. So this is a really great time to do all of that, Jenna. Thank you so much for that big picture. So we're going to move into our Q&A, but before we do, Jenna has offered very kindly her email address. If there's something we don't get to in the Q&A, you may email her, jenna@lennystudio.com. You can shoot her a DM on Instagram. Her handle is Jenna M as in Mary Wolf. You can also check out her channels, Opera for Peace and IDAGIO. IDAGIO is actually a really cool channel. I just was checking it out the other day because I saw a concert announcement that I was interested in. They're all really great. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'm going to come back so I can look at all of your beautiful faces. and we will start some Q&A. Am I back? I'm back! Hi, everyone. So I hope
all these faces. Everybody's faces.
I know, I hate talking to the abyss.
I mean, I love Brian's face and I love Jen's photo, but it's nice to see it.
But still, I hate talking to the abyss. It drives me crazy. So I haven't seen the chat in a while, so I'm gonna just click up here and see what we got going on over here. But thank you guys so much. I hope that some of this, or if not all of this information, was super helpful to you. And we are going to start with some questions. I've got one here. Let's see. Fernanda would like to know, what about language we use in our profiles? This is great. Should we post in English, or is it better to use our own language? Jenna, what do you think about that?
I would say English always. Please always include English in your posts. However, if you are brilliantly bilingual, trilingual, any of that, you're also welcome to list the post in a second language, either within the same, I recommend doing it within the same post rather than doing an English post version and then a secondary or even tertiary language post version, because then again, it's kind of spamming feeds and you don't want to do that. But if you speak more than one language, take advantage of that. Take advantage of that in the hashtags you use. That has great international appeal. And if you happen to speak a language that reflects your heritage, even better. That's gorgeous. That's wonderful. We want to see that from you. But English is really recognized as sort of the international approachable language that you see across every artist channel, across every major opera house channel. It's the one that's the most approachable. But if you speak other languages, pop some phrases in there in those languages. It's great.
I've definitely seen people who speak multiple language post their caption in multiple languages, where they'll do a couple of dots in between and then do it in another language.
English, Italian, Spanish, whatever. Yeah. So just keep it all in the same post. Don't do multiple versions because it's
because it'll clutter the feed. I've got a question from Madeline Stern here. I'm a young artist and I also teach voice and have created some educational programs, both targeted at high school and undergraduate age singers. I have a Yelp and Facebook page for my teaching, and one page of my singing website is dedicated to my teaching. Do you think it would be okay to make one professional Instagram account to post about both? Or do you think the young artist account needs to have its own username? I just made the account Madeline Stern _Soprano if people here want to follow each other. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great question because we all have a side hustle, right? And especially right now, we all got to work the side hustle. So if you are a young artist and you have it, let's say you have a studio, you have a teaching studio, do we want to put everything under one umbrella? Or do we want to have two Instagram profiles, one for the teaching and the teaching studio and one for the singing? Or do we want to have everything sort of together? Jenna, what do you think?
I would recommend separate ones for each, actually. And the reason I say that is that the content that the audience that you're really looking to connect with is probably slightly different for both. If you're really looking to also keep those sort of aspects of who you are in your career more clear and more, I would say, if one can try to use, like working on a piece of repertoire or something, it would be weird. I probably paused for a little bit. It would be weird to post that to your pro page, like your pro artist page, even if you said that, unless you're teaching a masterclass or something, and that's that piece. But if you're regularly posting a ton of studio videos of other artists, of artists you're teaching, it blurs the messaging. And I think, casting directors, the more they get thrown at them, the more difficult it is. They need it to be clear who you are. They need to know who you are and to be plain and simple. So my gut recommendation is have separate channels, separate content on each.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you, Jenna. I think also if you're going to have a voice studio with 20 to 30, students in it, and you want to promote that voice studio, then you should have an account that promotes that voice studio. And if you're also a singer, then you should have an account that promotes that singing. Like Jenna said, if you teach a master class, then that's a singer thing too. You could post it on both accounts. But I definitely think, especially when you're in the young artist world, the casting directors, they're going to your Instagram channel. They're going. The directors are going. So I already know I'm working with a director in Marseille who messaged me off of a story a year ago. He messaged me and he was like, I love following your Instagram account because I'm already getting to know you and I'll meet you in 2 years, So they're going, they're looking. And like Jenna said, the message needs to be super clear. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I'm trying to promote with this particular handle. I think that's awesome. Nilima, our friend from India, hi girl. She wants to know about hashtags in the post or in the comments and where to add them. We kind of started talking about that, but Jenna, I'm going to let you field that because that's a great question.
Yeah, it's really more it's a personal preference thing. I prefer comments. I would always put hashtags in comments because then it keeps the post text only, and the comment, it's cleaner. I feel that it's cleaner. However, there are some artists who really love having the hashtags in there. They want the people that read the post to read all those hashtags. Maybe they got creative. You can combine too. You can have a handful of hashtags not only within your post, but at the bottom of the post, and then still comment below with hashtags. You know, feel free to get creative. What I would say is don't put a list of 15 hashtags at the bottom of your post. It's going to look messy.
Yeah.
If you really need that many, put them in the comments.
I agree with you. Jenna, is there any difference about how many people see the hashtag if you post them in the post or if you post them in the comments?
No, because it's attached. They're attached.
So they look better in the comments. Really, really do. They look much better.
And again, you can use a handful of them in the post, get funny, get creative, whatever, but then I would say bury the rest.
Right. Okay, from Julia, I love this question, Julia. Do we always have to look super glam and stage ready for pics? Because I saw a picture of Piotr Bekchala looking just normal in the woods picking mushrooms, and I was like, maybe. And I'm like, I love Piotr Bekchala picking mushrooms in the woods and holding up cakes and all the things. But he's a dude, so he can get away with so many more things than we can get away with. So I'm going to let Jenna field this, and then I'll give you my opinion.
I mean, I think, first of all, like, Jen, for example, is a girly girl. She loves makeup. She loves clothes. She loves feeling, actually more than that, she loves feeling put together. That's Jen, right. Like right now, she loves feeling put together. It's actually more of a feeling than it is about specifically, I'm wearing eyeliner today. She likes to feel put together and polished. Everybody has different definitions of put together and polished. What I would say is, you know, I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see a photo of me at 11 o'clock at night eating my mixed bowl of Cool Ranch and nacho cheese Doritos watching a television show. I mean, maybe you want to, I don't know. If you do, DM me. But I think, you know, this is to, again, if it's on your pro pages, do you want a casting director seeing that? And you know, there's some things I love so much about this business, and then there are some things I just hate. I mean, we could have a whole other damn conversation about body positivity and visual perception in artists and representation on stage, and that's another topic for a different day. Yeah. I don't think you should always have to be 100% glam, 100% put together, whatever. You should be comfortable. But I think that idea of being put together is something interesting to think about, and also just thinking of who the audience is. You know, again, like if I wanted to be cast in a leading role at the Met and I knew Diane Zola was looking at my Instagram account and I would just had all these photos again with my big blue bowl of Doritos all the time, instead of photos of me like singing a little bit or, you know, traveling or living my life and hanging with friends or working on music. It's something to consider, but don't feel like you need to become some artifice of something that's not real. Still try and stay true to yourself, but I think show the best parts of yourself. If you're showing something to the world, show the best of yourself, whatever that means for you.
I 100% agree with you, Jenna, and I feel like you're right. And sadly, there is a bit of a double standard here, but we can't fight City Hall on this because City Hall isn't going to change. So if Piotr can post the most adorable picture in the world of him picking mushrooms at 6 o'clock in the morning with no makeup and his hair a hot mess, he still looked cute. I'm not posting said picture at 8 o'clock in the morning with no makeup and my hair a hot mess because I don't look cute. And I don't want to put anything on my Instagram profile that doesn't represent me as a brand. And
yeah, if you don't feel good about it, don't post it. If you don't feel like great about it, why?
I'm good. Now, I have posted an unfiltered, no makeup pic before. I have done that because I was feeling myself, and I was like, "Oh, my skin looks really good," you know. And I have done whatever. And that actually got a lot of likes, and that was lovely. But that's not an everyday thing for me. I really feel like as a person, as a singer, as a brand, I have a look, right? And I feel like I need to present that look because it makes me feel professional. Even when I go to rehearsal, I don't go to rehearsal in yoga pants and no makeup and hair not done. It's just not something I do. And so if that's what I have set up for myself as my look, my brand, my image, and then I start putting a bunch of pictures of me like Jenna sitting with my bowl of Cool Ranch Dorito, then it looks odd, right? And it kind of comes out of the feed of things. I'll actually tell you a funny story. So when I was in Michigan, I lived in Michigan for a little while my husband was going to school. And while I was there, I posted a picture on Instagram, and I swear to God, it's Tupperware Gate. I swear to God, people still talk about it today. I posted a picture of a freezer full of Tupperware labeled with food, because when I leave on a job, I make my husband weeks worth of food. And I put it in the freezer and I label it for him so that he knows this is spaghetti sauce, this is chili, this is this is that. And then he puts it in there in the microwave and he warms it up for himself. So I took a picture because I thought it was awesome. And I was like, ooh, I'm awesome today. I took a picture of a freezer full of Tupperware with little, okay? I cannot even tell you. 2 weeks ago, someone was like, is your husband still eating out of Tupperware? Because it was off-brand, because it didn't look like me. It's not the glam pics of food that I like to post. It's a picture of me preparing to leave for a job. And I'm not kidding you, I had to take it down because it didn't look good. And I think it was Eugenia, who was on the team at the time, who wrote me and said, Jen, I feel like this post isn't really going with what we're going for your social media page, and you might want to consider taking it down. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm awesome. I'm the best wife ever for doing this for my husband. And she was like, yeah, you might be, but I really just don't think that, like, think about Anna Netrebko. What would Anna do? Would Anna show a picture of a freezer full of food? I don't think she would. So I feel like you should take it down.
It wasn't you. You weren't actually in it. It was like
no, it was just the Tupperware.
Again, like there's a way always to present and interpret things. Yeah, but it's does this represent the best, like the best of your cooking? I've seen the photos. Your dishes, they aren't in Tupperware containers. And I think what we see, is it visually appealing? Like I think we see sometimes things from artists, even ones who are doing great work on social, but sometimes we'll see things that aren't as visually appealing, and it's like, no, only put up stuff you feel really not only you feel about, but trust the judgment of the people that you have in your life whose opinion you trust.
But and then the difference in the reaction of a picture of food in Tupperware versus my fancy food with the portrait mode on my phone, with the dressed plate and the wiped plate and the herbs and the this and the that. The difference in that is literally what we're talking about here. What do you want to present as a professional in this industry? Are you presenting the Tupperware or are you presenting food porn? And I think we should present food porn. Okay, it's really that simple. And I learned, right? I mean, this was early on in my career.
Still has a place. I will say Tupperware can live in stories. Tupperware can live,
totally.
There are places that for everything, and I think you can be creative with that. So just it's again thinking, what channels do you have? How can you use them? But I will remind everyone that there are very prominent casting directors and intendants that also look at stories.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And today, I know if I wanted to post a picture of all of the Tupperwares that I leave for my husband when I go off for a gig, I'm going to go in Canva and I'm going to set up a really cute, like, outline kind of thing. And then I'm going to put the pictures in there and I'm going to make it look fancy, and then I'm going to stick it in stories, right? I'm not going to put a picture of a freezer full of Tupperware on my feed ever again, okay? Because Tupperware Gate, I'm not even kidding you, lives on today, and it's like 4 years later. So I have another one here. Aubrey Meek says, I heard this in a business class. If you want to save some money, then use a free website like Wix to make your own website. Because if someone who is really good at computers makes your website for you on a difficult program, then you have to pay them every time you need to update it. Jenna, what's your opinion on that?
It depends on the program that a site is built on, I have to say. I mean, Wix and Squarespace and all of these, you know, offer some great free or very low cost options. Sometimes they're actually a little bit clunky and tougher to maintain. So you have to be judicious about which templates you're choosing and which like functionality you want. You be clear about that and watch some videos before you go create something, for sure. What I'll say is, you know, a lot of platforms now these days especially are much easier. I mean, at Lenny's, all of the websites we build are bespoke. They're all custom. Like we have a template based version, which is like our entry level, like for anybody that's at an emerging artist.
You guys have like 4 templates, right? You got like
we have sort of 4 versions, but even the template based site is still custom. Like there's still custom elements to it. But we build our sites on WordPress, and WordPress is super user friendly. Like there are some artists who we manage everything for. There are some artists who take care of their web content themselves, or their assistant does it, or something like that. Like WordPress is pretty easy to use. So I would say, like if you're speaking with a designer, like a web designer, and they say, oh, I build sites on WordPress, that's probably going to be more user friendly than some other options. But a lot of the other options, I have to say, have really gone out of fashion, or they're not being updated anymore, or not being used anymore. But do a little research, and if you're hiring somebody to build you a website, you know, they should have a portfolio. They should be able to show you some other sites that they built. Check out those sites, check out their functionality, click through on links. I mean, a lot of young artists have side hustles building sites for other young artists, and it's not going to have maybe the same bells and whistles as like a mega custom design site like that we did for Joyce DiDonato, or, you know, but you can, for your money, get a great value, maybe have a nice start of a relationship with a good colleague in the business, and still have something that's professional enough that you can feel good about it living on the net. So, you know, the platforms themselves, though, do a little research, watch some videos, see what you might feel most comfortable with, and ask your friends. If you know somebody's site you like, ask who built it.
Who built, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if he still does this anymore, but back in the day, when I was more at the young artist level going into emerging professional, there was a singer, there was a tenor named Alvaro Rodriguez who built websites, and he hosted them. I feel like back in the day they were like $20 a month. He'd make the updates for you. If you wanted to rebuild, he charged you by the hour, but like the initial build was like $500, and then
you don't need to spend a month. Don't spend a lot.
Still doing that. Maybe he used to run under a company called Boxpage. I don't know if it's the same anymore. I don't know if he still does it, so don't take my word. But maybe there are other companies like this where it's a singer whose side hustle is building websites for other singers, and you can pay them a monthly fee to keep that site updated for you, and you just send new press, new reviews, new photos when you want it done. And then in that $20 a month, those updates become a part of that. So, you know, check that out. There might be people out there. I mean, maybe people on this meeting know.
There are tons of you. Yeah. Tons of you on this chat, probably.
So, okay, another one. Madeline Stern wants to know, is it taboo to post the same things on Instagram and Facebook if you feel it would work for both demographics? Absolutely not. I post on all 3. I will say that if it's like a specific Instagram thing, so like if it's an Instagram live, if I'm like letting people know that an Instagram live is happening, or if it's an IGTV thing or something like that, I tend to keep that on Instagram. I don't get a lot of cross-pollination, so to speak. I don't get a lot of people from Facebook who will cross over onto the Instagram platform, and vice versa. Like, I wouldn't advertise a Facebook Live on Instagram because I think people like Instagram Live on Instagram. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like there's a different, when I put Instagram Live stuff on Facebook, it gets no traction, and nobody crosses over from Facebook to the Instagram. But if I put it on Instagram, then people tune in and it's, you know, fabulous and wonderful. So I think you have to look at the content when you're deciding, am I going to put it on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which I definitely do all the time. And then there are other things where I'm like, you know what, this is more Facebook specific, like a YouTube video. YouTube, people will click on it on Instagram or on Facebook. They'll click on it. In Instagram, they won't. Because in Instagram, they have to go to your profile, then they have to click the YouTube link, then they have to go to YouTube, and it's like 3 too many steps. So on Instagram, you need to post the physical video there for them. Even if it's more than 10 minutes, you need to put the 10 minutes there. Then you can say, for the rest of the video, head to my YouTube channel. But on Facebook, you can put the link and people will click it and go. But it doesn't work that way with all platforms. Jenna, you want to add to this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key, even at just the base end of it, is think user-friendly as much as possible. Like if you on Insta don't have a profile where you're able to have a swipe up in stories, you know, with links, but you can still use your stories to direct people to links. Like you can still use it to put in posts and direct people to other things, and just be creative. Make it easy for people to get to your content. Don't make it difficult. Make it as easy as humanly possible. Put the links in your Facebook posts, put them in your tweets, you know, make it user friendly. And then don't forget to tag people in things. Don't forget to tag companies, tag your colleagues, tag, you know, you never know who's going to share something or interact with something, but don't have too many barriers for people on the user end.
Absolutely. It's super important. And it's, you know, you'll see with your own channels when it gets to the point where you're posting a lot and you want to post on all 3 channels. I know that when I post stuff for YouTube on Instagram, no one's going. They just don't want to leave Instagram. They want to stay right there. They want to have everything for them right there on Instagram.
Even the link in bio. The link in bio, I mean, people use that, and link in stories, people use that, and they use it quite a bit. It's still an extra step, and Instagram requires that. Yep, it's an extra step. IGTV, much easier.
Put it right up there. Exactly. So sometimes you can make the same post, but post it a few different ways. Like Instagram, you're going to post one way. Facebook, you're going to post another way. Twitter, you're going to post another. Twitter actually will go to external links. They do external links all the time. Jenna, Emma Rose just popped up about TikTok, and I actually wanted to ask you about the TikTok because I think TikTok is ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't know why we had to add it because Instagram
because we're old, honey. God, we're just
old. Is that what it is?
TikTok, I love TikTok actually as an idea. I love the fact that there are various channels that serve very different functions, and TikTok's function is to be damn ridiculous in the best way. The best things you can do. And look, if you want to be ridiculous, don't be ridiculous on your professional Facebook page.
Yeah.
You can be ridiculous on TikTok. And I'm not saying, you know, don't do things that are offensive, lewd, hurtful to other people, whatever. But if you want to be creative and crazy and try some things and do some funky things and some arty things and bizarre stuff, and get really creative with your friends during COVID quarantine times, TikTok is the place to live. It's the place to be. Again, don't lose your soul scrolling TikTok for 2 hours a day, but that's a place to have fun. And if you need to blow off some steam, and if you have some really funky ideas and want to think outside the box, do I think TikTok's ever going to be considered like a super professional, channel where we go to find, no, I think TikTok hopefully will stick to its mission and function of being this place where you can find this original, truly sort of interesting, unique content. Use that though, and connect with the friends in the business who are also using it. I mean, I know I haven't done the deep dive into TikTok yet, because I know once I do, I probably would start doing a bunch of ridiculous stuff and lose a bunch of time in my life. I love the absurd. I love things that I have a weird sense of humor. I love funny shit. But if that's a place where you could use it as a different type of creative outlet than the other channels, do that. Try something different. And if it's opera related, even better. There have been some singers who have done some really funny stuff on there that I just love. I love to see, and I'm so entertained by. We could all use some levity right now. We could all use some fun
Absolutely.
and entertainment, things to make us happy. So TikTok is not a place where you're going to like make a public career as an opera singer, but it's really fun stuff, and maybe even some things that other people in the industry pick up on and see that you're creative and doing something different. So I say go for it. If you're already on TikTok, awesome. As I said, I've sort of waited to jump in because I think I would just do ridiculous stuff all the time, and then I'd be like, where is life going? But
I'm gonna do two more and then we're gonna wrap this up. This one will be a quick one. Kaylee wants to know, can we post on Instagram and share on Facebook from there, or should we do two separate posts? Go Instagram first, share to your, flip the toggle, share to your Facebook. But then you need to go to Facebook and redo your tags. So Instagram's gonna put everything in exactly the way you put it in on Instagram. So whatever company or person or anything like that you want to actually tag in the post, you need to go into Facebook and redo the tags with the Facebook tag system. So you can use the same post posted from Instagram, but you have to go into Facebook and re-tag everything for the Facebook version of that tag. Yeah?
yes.
They reach the same amount of people, you don't have to worry about, but go Instagram to Facebook, don't go Facebook to Instagram.
Now, do Instagram to Facebook, edit that post, edit those tags. You can even edit the formatting, you know, take out the Instagram look. Like if you have a certain formatting in there, you can reformat, that's fine. And you know, for some people, they really like that functionality because it's quick and easy. They can have them together. For some people, it freaks them out. If it freaks you out, don't worry, then do the native post on Instagram, do your posts separately on Facebook, don't link them if it makes you panic. We don't need people having panic moments. Don't have them linked then. And sometimes people don't link that too because they have very different content on certain channels, whatever, but just make sure this actually goes to just a larger issue. And, you know, everybody, even teens, even people that do this for a job, you know, we're human beings. There's going to be a margin for error at a certain point. So once you post something, double check it. Double check it before you post it. Read it through in your mind. Read it out loud to yourself if you need to. Are you spelling your colleagues' names correctly? Are you spelling, you know, like stuff like this, like, and it's really easy for autocorrect to jump in and mess a bunch of things up. Just also think about that goes back to quality. Evaluate the quality. Make sure it's what it should be.
Welcome to my world. I am the worst editor. I have to send my poor team my post and say, can you please look at this to see if I've spelled anything right whatsoever? Because I'm so bad at it. All right, the last question, and I think this is very appropriate for the time, and also we can segue into one of Jenna's new projects. Nilima wants to know, what do you think about apps like Stage It for live concerts online? And I think this is a big thing right now, especially knowing that here in America, we're not getting back on that stage anytime soon. In Europe, they are doing it, and that's wonderful. And I'm so happy for everyone and for all of my colleagues who get to go over there. And I mean, the Traviata that was just done in Madrid last night, oh my God, like I want to be there. I want to go to there. Like, I think it's just amazing. But until that happens here in the United States, Jenna, what do you think about the online concert platform, charging people tickets, and what are some of the best kind of places to sort of go for that kind of content?
So we have a very, very large and contentious conversation going on in our industry right now about value. Value is a big word. Do you value yourself? Do you value other people? Do you value your relationships? Do you value your role in this industry? You know, value can cover a lot of things, but let's talk for a moment about value for your creative output. Your creative output has value. You trained to be able to do this. You paid for lessons, you've paid for coachings, you've blood, sweat, and tears, you've given your time. That has worth. And that's not to say that it's not great that people who are in financial difficulties, you know, can watch a stream of something and experience something, and an archive broadcast or something like that. It's a slightly different conversation. But if you're producing live original art right now, you should be compensated for that. And there are a lot of platforms that are, you know, have sort of burst through at various levels. Some are really focused on, you know, more emerging, like younger artists. Some are sort of on the more established end, and everything in between. If you are going to put that time and energy in, absolutely, people should pay tickets for that. And the ticket prices, of course, are not going to be as reflective as they would be of something that's live in a venue, because, you know, then you have venue costs and staff costs and everything else. And also, we know that the recorded experience or even the live broadcast experience will never replicate the in-person experience. I mean, I think we've all had those special moments as artists in our own right, and then also audience members where you've experienced the sublime somehow. That can't really be replicated on a computer, like watching something or streaming on your TV. But what it can do is connect with people during this time. And then what does that look like in the future? Well, in the future, that means, what if there are performances where if somebody couldn't afford to go fly to Florence, Italy, for a concert at Maggio Musicale, but they really love Zubin Mehta and they followed his career and they want to see this Schubert series he's doing, they can watch that online, like on the IDAGIO Global Concert Hall. We have these events from these houses. And again, we're one of many available platforms, and I applaud everybody who's doing this right now, because artists deserve to be compensated for their time and talents. And venues, the same thing. And it's such like a rights issue. And sometimes artists are being pressured into sort of giving away all rights on archival broadcasts and all of that. Again, there's a lot of infighting regarding this right now in the industry, and I would love to have a deeper conversation with people I don't agree with on this, because I'd have a lot to say. But if you're going to put your time in on something, yeah, it should be ticketed. And if you find a platform you really like, again, I know there are a lot that are just bursting out. Try something. There's no guarantee you're going to sell a ton of tickets. Don't do it because you think, oh God, I'm going to make $5,000 on this. That's not what it's about initially. This is all still being tested. This technology is still being tested. It's still new. We're still checking quality. What it can do is connect you to your audience in a meaningful way, and then your audience feels good knowing that they're supporting you as an artist. You know, at IDAGIO, it's so interesting because it started as a classical music streaming platform. So it's like, you know, you've got Spotify, you've got Tidal, you've got all these things, but we know they kind of suck for classical music. No offense, I love listening to Stevie Wonder, among other things, on Spotify, but it's not really serving my classical needs.
Yes.
The metadata isn't there, like it's not searchable, the catalogs aren't there, forget it. So IDAGIO started with classical streaming, and then actually several months ago, they were already putting this in planning with this global concert hall, and they ramped it up because they said, oh shit, nobody is performing on, you know, live stages. We have to figure something out. Oh, people are starting to perform again. How can we share this? So we collaboratively launched this very quickly. Again, it's sort of a mix right now of like boutique, intimate solo performances and chamber ensembles and larger things. We're also going to add a functionality later this year for artists to self-host on the platform. So you don't have to come through us and do all these arrangements and whatever. Right now, the artists that want to do it, we've sort of contacted and gone to artists that we know and are connected with, because we know we can make the things happen. We know that with Vienna, the Vienna Philharmonic, that they had a concert they wanted to put on there, and IDAGIO already had a relationship, so we could do that. We know with Christina Opolais, because she's a client at Lenny's studio and a dear friend, like we knew we could get a recital together for her in Berlin at this venue, because we have these one-to-one touches with artists. Down the road, we want to enable any artist at any level to just use the darn platform. And so money is key. I mean, I don't know the other models for the other platforms. Research them for sure. See what makes the most financial sense for you. IDAGIO's right now is 80% of the net revenue. So after processing fee, credit card processing fee, and VAT, value added tax, because it's a European company, after that, 80% goes to the artists. 20% goes to IDAGIO to cover our staffing for the platform and the promotional work that we do. Down the road, that percentage, when artists can self-host, gets even more in the positive for artists who want to self-host, which is great. I think there's some comparable platforms that are anywhere from 50 to 70%. I think it just depends. So see what works for you, but yes, you're probably all going stir crazy, not being able to perform for people and connect to people. Well, this is a way to do that. And we're even doing something, part of the Global Concert Hall. It's called the Virtual Green Room, where people can submit questions in advance and even like during the broadcast. And at the end, you can connect with your audience and talk about this thing. Wonderful. And talk about it, and they can ask you about it. And I think, again, it's the time to be creative. It's the time to be nimble. I love that there are these smaller sort of startup, event streaming apps popping up. I think that's great. The more artists that can be seen and paid right now, the better. And I think with IDAGIO, we know we have an opportunity because of the visibility of the platform and the access with record labels and all this different kind of stuff, that we can do some good, and also that we can put pressure on larger institutions in the idea of compensating artists for their work. So absolutely. I'm all about it. Do your research, find the platforms that make sense to you. I mean, on the IDAGIO side, stay tuned. We've got more great stuff coming soon, and you can watch, and price point is key. I mean, ours are under 10 euros per ticket, so around $10 a ticket. And we wanted it to be an accessible price point. So whether you're a college student or whether you're mid-career, but you're out of work for 6 months, that you could still have that accessible ticket. And I think that's key for everybody too. Let's welcome everyone.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I just want to add, even if you're not at the point where you feel like comfortable that you want to host a concert of your own on a platform like this, Facebook Live is a good tool. And you can put your Venmo up on that Facebook Live, and you can invite your friends and your family, and you can tell some stories, and you can sing some art songs, and you can do it with your accompanist backtrack, and no one is going to care. But the point being, if you want to sing and you've prepared something and you want, exactly, Kaylee saying friends that do virtual tip jar. If you need to make some money, because let's face it, right now, it's difficult. It's difficult. Go on Facebook Live. I had a girlfriend do it 2 weeks ago. I watched it. I had a great time. I sent her a Venmo.
Help your friends, help yourself.
Get on and put, or have, if there's a couple of you, like, let's say you're college students, a couple of you live in the same apartment, pay for a pianist, the 5 of you or the 4 of you. Go in, bring in a live pianist with a keyboard with a mask on, and have him or her pay that pianist and have him or her play some stuff for you. You guys have some drinks, have some fun, do it on Facebook Live, and make some Venmo money. This is again, I mean, we have to reiterate this from the Saturday class, and again from Jenna today. This is the time to be creative. You must figure out a way that it's going to work for you. Because as Scott said last Saturday, we're all on this really wonky bridge right now. But at a certain point, the bridge ends and there's land there. And we're going to get off of this bridge and then we're going to be able to sing again. We don't know when that's going to be. So we have to be creative until that point comes. And this is a way to do that. This is a way, social media is the way to do that. Use of Facebook, use of Instagram. Do a little concert on Instagram Live. I mean, I don't know if anyone watched, but my husband, myself, the pianist from Sarasota Opera, and another tenor we know, Rafael Davila, we did a concert for Opera Naples in their humongous space here in Florida a couple of months ago. And I put half of it on Instagram Live for people, and like 500 people watched it. And I didn't ask for any money. I just wanted to give some music, to people. So you can do this. This is the time to be creative. This is the time to use your online channels to work for you. This is the time to use that Instagram account, use that YouTube channel, use it all for the betterment and the growth of your career. I'm doing it, so you can do it too. We're doing these master classes and these lectures here at Fort Worth Opera is to stay creative. We want to stay growing, stay developing, and it's an immense pleasure for me to be able to have some sort of purpose in this time. And I feel like my purpose is to bring this information to you so that you can continue to build and grow and hone your craft until we get off that bridge and we can go back to making music, you know, the way that we want to do it. So I just want to thank everyone so much for being here this evening with us. Jenna, I love you. I adore you. Thank you so much for being here. As always, everyone, we bring these classes to you for free. However, if you have the means, even if it's $5, if it's $10, please give a small donation or a big donation, we don't care, to Fort Worth Opera. That way we can keep giving you all of this great content. And actually Ryan's shut it up in the chat there. We're not asking you to pay. And if you do not have, you know, the means to donate, please don't worry. Spend your $5 on groceries and bread and all of that. But if you can give us a couple of bucks, if you can make a donation, if your family can make a donation, we would really appreciate it at Fort Worth Opera.
And something I want to mention, Jen, too, you know, during this time, look to the companies who are making an investment in the future of young artists and who are making free or low cost resources available. And I think, you know, having worked for a fantastic regional U.S. house in the past, and also knowing Fort Worth in the capacity that I do, we have something very special in the U.S. with these houses. And you know, this is important. And look to the ones who are supporting all of you right now. Yes. And you know, it's whether it's a donation, whether it's sharing their posts, whether it's, you know, speaking well of them as a family. Like, there's a lot you can do actively from home that you never lose anything. You never lose any ground by showing support to people who have done well by you.
Yeah,
ever.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jenna. Yes, and we welcome you. Screenshot this Zoom and put it on your Instagram. We want you to do it. We welcome you to do it. We will repost you. We will do everything, you know. We want to thank you again for being here this evening. For those of you, I see the screens. Hi. For those of you who were not with us on Saturday, we announced our next guest for next Saturday. And I'm going to announce it again for you tonight. It is Josh Winograde, head of casting at Los Angeles Opera. He is an amazing person. He is an incredible colleague, and his ears are second to none. And we will be doing next weekend's class on Saturday, back to Saturday. It will be at 2 o'clock Eastern time, and everyone on this class has first dibs for auditing. So we will not be announcing to the public that Josh is our guest until Monday. So you have from now until Monday to grab one of the spots to be in on that class. That class will have 5 amazing singers on it. We will be talking about the transition from being a young artist to an emerging professional, and what that looks like as far as how does your audition package change. We've been talking in every single class about those 5 arias, right? And what do those 5 arias mean at every level? In this class, we will talk about how that list changes for main stage auditions, because it does. It changes massive. And Josh will be hearing singers that some singers are right on the verge of young artist into emerging, and some singers are ready for that manager. So this is going to be a really great class with some really great singing, and I'm sure insanely fabulous information. So if you want to audit this class, you have first dibs. Send the email masterclass@fwopera.org. You have first dibs on the spot. And we are so excited to present Josh to you guys next weekend. It's going to be another incredible,
wonderful person, wonderful, as you said, set of ears. And you know, with that audition material, if you don't know who you are, you can't sing or tell anyone else. So you got to figure out who you are.
That's right. And he's, you know, we've been talking about that every week, and he's just going to help us transition from young artists into emerging professional, and it's just going to be awesome. So young artists, watch this class too, because this class is going to have incredible audition information for you, and it's really, it's going to be awesome. Anyways, Jenna, I love you. As Howard Stern says, you've said it all. It's time to go to bed.
2 hours and 30 minutes worth. Heck yeah.
Jenna, thank you so much for giving of your time this evening. We appreciate it so much. Ryan, I know you're there somewhere. Thank you for giving of your time this evening. And guys, I just hope that all of this information was super helpful for you. Again, we gave Jenna's email, so if you have another specific question, jenna@lennystudio.com. If you have a specific question you'd like to have her answer, she has offered that to you guys. If you have something specific, you may send her an email. Don't pass her email address around or put it on social media, but you can email her personally.
So whatever you want, I'm available.
But thank you all so very much. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your Doritos, Jenna. And we will see you guys on Saturday, July 11th for our class with Josh Winograde. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, Ryan. Good night, everybody.